with any of the stigmas that I had. Lord, keep me from crying.
Thank you,
My
Jesus.
children don't have to grow up with any of the struggles that I've had.
None of them. Yes,
My
Lord.
children are free,
Yes,
and they are
Lord.
secured from the temptations
Yes, Lord. Yes.
that tempted me out of the way.
For decades, Pastor Donnie McClurkin stood as one of gospel music's most recognizable voices, inspiring audiences with messages of faith, perseverance, and redemption. But in recent years, troubling headlines, legal battles, and growing controversy have cast a shadow over his legacy. Behind the awards, chart-topping songs, and powerful sermons lies a story filled with tragedy, resilience, public scrutiny, and unanswered questions. So what really happened to Donnie McClurkin? And is this truly the end of his journey, or just another chapter in a much larger story? The dark beginnings of Donnie McClurkin. Long before Donnie McClurkin became a celebrated gospel artist and pastor, his life was marked by hardships that few people could imagine. The man who would eventually inspire millions with messages of faith and healing first had to endure some of the darkest moments of his own life. Behind the powerful voice and uplifting songs was a young boy facing grief, trauma, and challenges that could have easily changed the course of his future. Born in Copiague, New York, Donnie grew up in a household that experienced both love and heartbreak. One of the earliest tragedies struck when he was just 8 years old. His younger brother, only 2 years old at the time, was killed in a devastating accident involving a speeding driver. The loss sent shockwaves through the family and left emotional scars that would remain for years. What should have been a normal childhood suddenly became overshadowed by grief, confusion, and unanswered questions. But that tragedy was only the beginning. As he grew older, Donnie faced deeply painful experiences that he would later discuss publicly. During his childhood, he endured abuse from family members, experiences that left lasting emotional wounds. Those difficult years were compounded by additional struggles within the family, including substance abuse issues involving some of his siblings. The home environment often felt unstable, and for a young boy searching for security and understanding, it was an incredibly difficult path to navigate. Yet, amid the pain, Donnie found something that would eventually transform his life. The church became a place of refuge. Within its walls, he discovered comfort through worship, prayer, and music. While many children sought escape elsewhere, Donnie found peace behind a microphone. Gospel music gave him an outlet for emotions that were often too painful to express. It also connected him to family members who shared a love for ministry and music. One of his greatest influences was an aunt who worked alongside renowned gospel artist Andre Crouch. Watching her involvement in gospel music opened Donnie's eyes to the power of using songs to inspire and uplift others. As his passion grew, so did his determination. During his teenage years, he formed the McClurkin Singers, taking one of the first major steps toward a future in music. Not long afterward, he established the New York Restoration Choir, a group that helped showcase his leadership and vocal talent. By the 1970s, the choir was already recording music, and Donnie was beginning to attract attention within gospel circles. His ability to connect with audiences came from something many performers could not replicate: authenticity. Every song carried pieces of his personal story. Listeners could hear the pain, the perseverance, and the hope woven into his performances. As his ministry opportunities expanded, another significant chapter unfolded in the late 1980s when Marvin Winans invited him to serve at Perfecting Church in Detroit. For more than a decade, Donnie worked closely with one of gospel music's most respected figures, gaining valuable experience in both ministry and leadership. Then came an unexpected challenge. In the early 1990s, Donnie experienced pain, swelling, and internal bleeding. Doctors diagnosed him with leukemia, a life-threatening condition frightening many. Facing the illness, he relied on faith that carried him through every storm. It became a talked-about part of his testimony, strengthening his message worldwide. By early 2000s, Marvin Winans ordained him Establishing Perfecting Faith Church in Freeport, New York. It marked a milestone from tragedy to respected pastor and gospel leader. But behind his public rise, another side of his life remained private. Donnie McClurkin's private heart. For someone as publicly visible as Donnie McClurkin, his music and ministry have always been open to the world. But his personal relationships have remained carefully guarded. Unlike many public figures in the entertainment industry, Donnie has often chosen silence over explanation when it comes to matters of the heart, leaving fans to speculate and piece together fragments of information over the years. One of the most talked-about moments in his private life began circulating in the year 2016, when reports linked him romantically to fellow gospel singer Nicole C. Mullen. The idea of two respected voices in gospel music forming a relationship immediately captured public attention. Fans were intrigued by the possibility, not only because of their shared faith and musical backgrounds, but also because both had experienced their own personal struggles and triumphs. As rumors gained traction, the pair appeared together on a televised faith-based program on Trinity Broadcasting Network, where their chemistry and familiarity fueled even more discussion. Viewers interpreted their appearance in different ways, with some believing a deeper commitment was already in progress, while others saw it simply as a friendly and professional connection. The speculation intensified as stories began spreading online, suggesting that marriage was imminent. However, those assumptions were later addressed when Nicole clarified publicly that although they had been in a relationship, they were not married. Her statement helped quiet some of the confusion, but it also raised new questions about how the relationship had been perceived so differently by the public compared to reality. Over time, the connection between Donnie and Nicole eventually faded. By the year 2021, Donnie addressed the situation during an interview on the television series Unsung. His remarks surprised many viewers, as he explained that the relationship had not been as long-term or as publicly defined as many had believed. The clarification added another layer of complexity to a story that fans thought they already understood. Beyond romance, Donnie's defining role outside music is fatherhood. He is the biological father of his son, Matthew McClurkin, born in 2000. Becoming a father added emotional depth and responsibility to his demanding ministry and music schedule. He later adopted a young girl named Michelle at age 9, showing commitment to care, stability, and love beyond biological ties. This revealed a quieter, private side of Donnie rarely seen by fans. His public music career kept growing, reaching larger audiences across gospel music, and Journey entered its most defining successful eras. The voice that took over gospel music. Donnie McClurkin's journey in music did not just unfold, it exploded into one of the most influential careers in modern gospel history. What began as a young man singing through pain slowly transformed into a global ministry of sound, reaching churches, arenas, and audiences far beyond the United States. His voice carried something rare in gospel music, a combination of raw emotion, personal testimony, and undeniable power that listeners immediately recognized. His major breakthrough came in the 1990s, when a connection with a Warner Alliance executive opened the door to a life-changing opportunity. That connection led to the release of his self-titled debut album in the year 1996. The project introduced Donnie to a much wider audience and positioned him as a rising force in the gospel industry. It was not just another gospel record, it was deeply personal, shaped by years of struggle, healing, and faith. The album brought together an impressive lineup of producers, including names like Andre Crouch, Bill Maxwell, and members of Take Six, such as Mark Kibble. Their collaboration helped create a sound that blended traditional gospel roots with contemporary arrangements, making the project accessible to both church audiences and mainstream listeners. One of the standout tracks, Stand, quickly became a defining anthem. The song delivered a simple but powerful message about perseverance in the middle of hardship. It resonated strongly with listeners who were going through personal battles. and it soon became one of the most recognized songs in his entire catalog. The success of the album grew even further after public praise from Oprah Winfrey, which helped bring Donnie's music into an even larger spotlight. Shortly after, the project achieved gold certification, marking a major milestone in his early career and confirming that his voice had reached far beyond gospel circles. As his reputation expanded, Donnie continued releasing music shaping gospel sound for years. Songs like We Fall Down became classics played in churches, radio, and worship worldwide. His blend of vulnerability and strength set him apart. He won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Soul Gospel Album for Psalms, Hymns, and Spiritual Songs, solidifying his status. He released live projects like Live in London and More, and We All Are One, Live in Detroit, reinforcing his legacy as worship leader. In the mid-2000s, he released Psalms, Hymns, and Spiritual Songs, followed by more charting projects that kept him consistently relevant in the gospel scene. Later, duets in the year 2014 brought together some of the biggest names in gospel music, including Erica Campbell, Fred Hammond, Israel Houghton, and Ty Tribbett, showcasing his influence and reach within the industry. 2 years later, The Journey debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top Gospel Albums chart. The project revisited some of his most beloved songs in live form, reminding audiences of the emotional weight behind his music. Even as the industry evolved, Donnie continued experimenting with sound and collaboration. A later release, A Different Song, performed strongly on charts, showing his influence remained. In 2025, he released Better Afterwhile, which rose in gospel charts and was recorded live at TBN Studios, blending traditional worship with modern production. That same momentum led to announcement of final studio album Finally, seen as closing chapter. He embraced global worship using multiple languages before retiring in 2025 to ministry focus fully. The near-death experiences of Donnie McClurkin. Throughout Donnie McClurkin's life, there have been moments so intense and frightening that many believed they could have ended everything. Yet time and again, he has emerged from situations that defied explanation, later describing them as clear reminders of faith, purpose, and divine protection. One of the most widely reported incidents took place in the year 2018, when Donnie lost consciousness while driving and became involved in a serious road accident. The crash happened suddenly, leaving no time for control or reaction. News of the incident spread quickly, and concern grew as fans and church members feared the worst in the hours that followed. Fortunately, Donnie survived. Despite the severity of the accident, he escaped with his life, and the outcome was seen by many supporters as nothing short of miraculous. Messages of prayer and support poured in from around the world, reflecting how deeply his influence had reached beyond music and ministry. This was not the first time he had faced a life-threatening health crisis. Years earlier, Donnie was diagnosed with leukemia after experiencing alarming symptoms, including pain, swelling, and internal complications. Doctors recommended immediate treatment due to the seriousness of the condition. During that difficult period, he relied heavily on faith and spiritual conviction, believing that his survival depended on something greater than medical odds alone. His recovery later became one of the defining testimonies of his life, often shared during sermons and interviews as proof of endurance through suffering. Many of his followers viewed it as a turning point that strengthened his message of hope and resilience. Beyond his health battles, Donnie's music became healing for many fans worldwide, who credited his songs with helping them through depression, grief, and illness. In churches and events, testimonies highlighted restored faith. He was seen as a symbol of survival, though new challenges were quietly forming behind the scenes there. The price of being unfiltered. Despite a career filled with awards, global recognition, and spiritual influence, Donnie McClurkin's public journey has also been marked by controversy that repeatedly placed him at the center of heated debate. As his music reached millions and his ministry expanded, his personal beliefs and past statements began drawing as much attention as his songs. One of the earliest and most widely discussed moments came in the early 2000s, when Donnie openly spoke about his struggles related to same-sex attraction during an interview with a Christian publication in the year 2002. In the discussion, he described how early childhood trauma and abuse had deeply affected his emotional development and identity. He also shared how he turned to faith as a way of seeking healing and change in his life. While some listeners praised him for his honesty and vulnerability, others strongly criticized his comments, arguing that his views reinforced harmful stereotypes. The conversation quickly moved beyond religious circles and into mainstream media, turning Donnie into a polarizing public figure almost overnight. The controversy resurfaced again in the year 2008, when he was briefly associated with musical performances linked to a presidential campaign event for Barack Obama. However, backlash from activists and public figures led to his removal from the official lineup. Even so, he still appeared at one of the events, which intensified public debate even further. Supporters defended his right to express his faith-based views, while critics argued that his statements were incompatible with the inclusive message of the campaign. Years later, another major flashpoint emerged in the year 2013, when Donnie was initially invited to perform at the 50th anniversary of the historic March on Washington. However, after renewed criticism and public pressure, he was later disinvited from the event. The decision sparked widespread discussion about free speech, faith, and the boundaries of public participation in historic commemorations. The debate surrounding his views continued into the mid-2000s and beyond, especially following the United States Supreme Court's legalization of same-sex marriage nationwide. Donnie publicly expressed disagreement with the ruling based on his religious beliefs, once again dividing audiences. Some praised him for standing firm in his convictions, while others viewed his stance as exclusionary and hurtful. The repeated cycles of support and backlash created a reputation that followed him throughout his career, regardless of his musical success. Even as these debates unfolded, Donnie continued focusing on ministry, family, and music. He is the father of a son, Matthew, born in 2000, and speaks about fatherhood. He is connected to gospel group history through relative Marsha McClurkin of Abstract. However, his most damaging controversy came decades later through legal action. In 2026, former assistant Giuseppe Corletto filed lawsuit in Manhattan Supreme Court, claiming they connected after reading autobiography. The lawsuit alleged that after becoming his assistant, Corletto worked closely with him for years and experienced multiple serious incidents that formed the basis of legal accusations. The claims included allegations of assault and inappropriate conduct in various private and professional settings, including counseling environments, church-related situations, and work-related travel. The filing referenced an alleged email in which Donnie was said to have issued an apology, quickly spreading across social media and news platforms, increasing public attention. His legal team strongly denied all accusations, calling the claims false and misleading, with Donnie rejecting any wrongdoing. The case divided public opinion, with supporters and critics reacting strongly. As the situation intensified, attention shifted toward reflection on his legacy, wealth, and life beyond the controversy. Donnie McClurkin's final chapter of influence. Despite all the highs and lows, Donnie McClurkin's life has also been defined by years of hard work, influence, and lasting impact in gospel music and ministry. Beyond the controversies and public attention, he built a career that placed him among the most recognizable voices in contemporary gospel history. Over the years, Donnie earned financial success through multiple streams connected to his music career. Album sales played a major role, especially during the peak of physical music distribution, when his records reached churches, radio stations, and international gospel audiences. Songs like Stand and We Fall Down continued to generate recognition long after their initial release, becoming timeless worship anthems sung across generations. Live performances also contributed significantly to his success. Donnie traveled extensively, performing in concerts, church events, and gospel festivals across the United States and internationally. His stage presence and emotionally driven performances allowed him to connect deeply with audiences, often turning concerts into powerful worship experiences rather than simple musical events. In addition to music, Donnie also served as a senior pastor at Perfecting Faith Church in Freeport, New York. His ministry work became a central part of his identity, allowing him to mentor, guide, and support people beyond the stage. Many followers admired his ability to balance both pastoral leadership and a global music career. Estimates of his net worth have often been placed at around $5 million, reflecting decades of consistent work in recording, touring, ministry, and public appearances. However, those close to his story often emphasize that his true influence cannot be measured in financial terms alone. What defined Donnie most was not just success, but consistency in message. Through interviews, sermons, and music, he often spoke about healing, forgiveness, survival, and redemption. He openly shared parts of his personal struggles, including childhood trauma and health battles, which made his testimony feel deeply human to many listeners. He remained active in mentoring younger gospel artists, guiding new worship leaders who admired his voice and legacy. His willingness to collaborate, teach, and share experience added depth to his influence. Even after stepping back from peak recording years, his music continued through churches, streaming platforms, and worship communities worldwide. His voice became gospel history, known for emotion and power. His journey reflects a long, complex story of pain, purpose, praise, and perseverance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Check out the next video on your screen for more powerful and untold stories like this.